All right, hey, listen, we are, somehow these series get meshed and melded together. We had 3 L's, we got 5 B's, I got all kind of things. This weird, it's goofy how things work, but that's what we have. But what we've been doing is kind of melding them together, and I do a lot of review before we get to where we're going, and so we are 2 sessions away from having understood kind of what I believe the Lord has given to not just our church, but to all the churches as an understanding of what truth is. And so what we discovered so far, and one of the, if you will, DNA or culture of our church, is that we're going to be people that are filled with light, life, and love. Those were the 3 things that were lost in the fall, right? And I'm not going to go rehash that. You can search that out, or you can go to Simple Gatherings online, and you can hear it and understand what was going on. But at the fall, we lost the light of truth. And so they made a choice, eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and when that unrighteousness came in, or wherever unrighteousness comes in, there's a darkening that takes place. And so what happened was, because of that, there's a darkness that is over this earth. And you and I know it, right? There's a lot of darkness out there. And I don't mean dark like evil. There is that. But there's also a void of truth. You got people who don't even understand truth anymore. If we ever have lived in an upside-down world, it is now. I used to do this all the time. My people understood. Anytime I teach, hey, we live in an upside-down world, right? We're swimming upstream in a downstream world. Whew, it's obvious today that's what's going on. You got people that we can't even define anything anymore because we're afraid we're going to hurt somebody's feelings. And so whatever your truth is, suddenly now we have multiple truths. There's not one truth. There's just everybody's got their own. And just, hey, have it. That's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. We both can't be right. And so that is lost. And so when sin happened, there was this fog, if you will. Just think of the darkest dystopian movie that you can think of, where just everything gets dark and gloomy and gray and all the color's gone. That's the world we live in. Now, you and I see it differently because our eyes have been adjusted to the light of the King, and so we see color. We see it as it meant to be. But they don't see it that way. And so we live in so we have to be the light to these people, right? This is our job. I have to know the truth. You have to know the truth so that when we walk it out, people see it. Not because we wear some cross, carry the Bible, speak things and condemn stuff and make fun of people and all that stuff. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with how we carry ourselves, right? We carry ourselves by living out the light of the gospel. Not only was light gone, but death came, right? Life was gone. There was a separation spiritually that happened when sin happened because sin separates us from God. And so we are on one side and God is on the other. And so the world is dead in their trespasses and sins. They're just walking zombies, right? That's who they are. They just live their life selfishly, whatever they're going to do. They just live that, and they're dead. I got friends that way. Apparently, this girl in the Netherlands is that way. She's just dead. Her psychiatrist told her there's no cure for her depression. I'm like, I got a cure. It's right here. Jesus tells me about that. But apparently she's not heard that. Or she hasn't heard it in a way that makes sense. And so we lost light and life. But you and me have life because the Spirit is life. And so wherever we walk into a room, we bring life. Don't you bring death into a room, right? And don't even partner with it. We're not that. We were that. We're not that. We're light. And so when I walk into a room, I'm going to be light, right? I'm going to share truth. I'm going to smile when I do it. I ain't mad at nobody. I'm happy. I'm going to bring that game because that's it, right? And so are you. Not only did those things happen, but then because of those things and sin happened, our eyes went from up and out, loving others, to down and in, self-absorbed in ourselves. And so there's this selfishness that reigns. And so there's no real love going on. Those are the things that were lost in the fall. We get all those back in Christ because Jesus is the light of the world. And he's now my Savior. The Spirit of Christ gives life to us. And he resides within me. And the Father, well, he is love. That is the definition of love. We love because he first loved us. And he's the one who teaches you and me how to love. So we looked at that. Was that too long of a review? Probably. I'm still practicing on you. I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm still like to practice. But so now, then we realize that all of us are on a journey. The whole world is on a journey. I don't think people know it. And so we've been working through what we call the 5 B's, and we are at the 1, 2, 3, 4th one. Right? So that's where we are. So let me catch you up with the first 3. The first 3 is Acts 17:26. God has appointed the exact times and places in which we should live in the boundaries and markers in which we find ourselves. Here's what we know. Everybody who's living right now was made for this day. They were made for this day. I was made. God planned for the foundation of the world at May 10th, 1959. Mother's Day. The greatest gift my mom ever got was me. Right? That's what happened. And I mean, she soon regretted that choice. But at the same time, I'm here because I've got a purpose. Saved or not, I have a purpose. And we call that B-land. Now, that B-land, Jesus, we could say, in this metaphor, is the broad road. When we're plopped down onto this planet, we're on this very broad road, and if we continue down that road, it leads to destruction. That's what Jesus said. Just hear me out. So we spend a lot of time in there, and we take a lot of detours in there. I mean, man, we chase it. If you've ever read Pilgrim's Progress, you know, man, we're chasing after Vanity Fair, and we're going all through these different things, and we're just chasing stuff because we love stuff. When we get to the end of life, we realize all that stuff doesn't matter. Go search what people do in these geriatric places that we decide to put our elderly people in so they can die there and we don't have to be bothered by it. See what they say. They have great regrets. You know what it is? All about stuff. That's what it's about. And so if we don't get off that broad road, we miss what really God had for us. And so we have, when we are born, an evil stepfather called Satan. Right? We're creations of God. We're not children of God. You're a child of God when you submit to the King. And He then adopts you. And He accepts you. And He brings you into the beloved. And He blesses you. And He forgives you. And He lavishes grace on you. And He gives you an inheritance. And He puts a robe on you that's white because of His Son. Right? That's what it looks like. But we're just creation of God until that moment happens. And so these people have to find that off-ramp, and someone has to snatch them away. See, because you're either a child of God or a child of the devil. There's only 2 choices. We do know that, right? There's no neutrality there. We tend to want to think of, well, he's a good guy. Yeah, but he's got an evil stepfather, and he's a child of Satan. And we want to see him transferred from the kingdom of darkness to the kingdom of light. Is it too dark and heavy for us to talk about? This is truth. And this is what we need to understand. And so this is why we look at this. And so what we have to happen is Jesus came to let us know that He can bring us home. Right? That's the story of the prodigal. Right? He can bring us home. And so the second B, we're all in B-land. We're all Imago Dei. I mean, we're made in His image. We're not like the rest of the world. We're not like the creation and the creatures. We're different. But we don't know it because our minds have been darkened. And so Solomon says it like this in Ecclesiastes, right? That God has put eternity in our heart. We know we're built for that, but we can't fathom it. We're in a fog. And so somebody's got to go, no, this is not who God designed you to be. We tell the story of how Christ can help us belong to Him. To belong to the King means you're no longer an orphan. You're no longer a stranger. You're no longer without a family. It's a game changer. If you've ever seen kids who have been adopted and you look at the parents, there's a different kind of love those parents have. They chose those kids and they went after those kids. I've got a friend I shared with you about him. He adopted 5 of them out of the Asian continent, and every one of them is blessed because one of those was living in a rice paddy. One of them was living underneath just a hut in Asia, and God brought them out, and they're all, or for the most part, I think 4 of them are believers in Christ today. And so there's this belonging. We talked about that, right? That's the gospel. If he wants to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. So we come to the place where we hear that there is an off-ramp. It is the narrow way. If you were there, you'd find it. But if you and me are careful with how we present truth, that people hear it. And when they hear it, and they understand that their sins have made a separation between them and God, and that God, knowing that none of us could climb out of that muck and mire, none of us could help each other out, we were all drowning. Somebody outside of us had to act. And so Christ says, I'll do it. And so he takes the form of a child, and he grows up without sin, and he's spotless, and he becomes a sacrificial lamb, and he pays the penalty of a just God that you and I might have life. And so we embrace that. We accept that offer. And when that happens, 33 things happen to you at the moment of salvation. I'm not going to preach that tonight, but I'd love to share them with you. 33 things happen to you the moment that your mind resonated with that truth, and it gripped it, and it moved around in your mind, and it settled in your heart, and so you embraced it. And then you begin to live it out, because that's how truth always happens, from the head to the heart to the highway. And that's how we get along in life. And so there we are. And now we're children of the King. I've been adopted. I have an inheritance. I have a room in a mansion in heaven that's being prepared for me. I have grace that is lavished on me, and there's a never-ending bottomless pit of this. I have everything I need in Christ. Everything. And so I belong now to Him. And that's a game changer. But I can't stop there. It's not enough just to belong. This is where the church fails. Because now all we do is just behave. Here's your ticket to heaven. Behave. Right? Come on, behave. Right? And so we spend our whole life trying to behave. Oh, man, messed up. I'm going to go read more Bible. Like that's going to be the answer. Right? Verse a day keeps the devil away kind of thing. Right? You know, we just think, okay, well, I'll just do that. I have one quiet time. And so we're into this work thing to try and figure out what's going on. Because we're trying to behave. God's got a different plan. He wants you to become something. That's the third. We're getting there. We're going to preach the next one. Just hang on. The next one gets quicker. So we're becoming something. This is powerful. Because the last thing you ever want to hear is someone go, same old Tammy. Right? If someone says, same old Randy, I'm toast, man. I'm in trouble because I'm becoming something. I can't be the same guy I was years ago. I'm changing. I'm metamorphosizing, right? Old things are passing away. Behold, all things are becoming new. This is what's going on. And so what has to happen? I have to put off things, right? The word decide is really a word that means to cut off. It means to kill. So when you make a decision, you've killed all the other options. In our life, we have to make that decision. I'm no longer going to lie. I'm going to speak truth one to another because we're brothers and sisters in Christ. I'm going to put off the old man who would normally lie. I'm going to tell truth. The old man would normally hoard all the money that he makes and be a little miser and hold it all to himself. The new man knows that he's not working just for himself, but for others who have need. And so he keeps a little reserve back, and it's in his pocket, or it's wherever it is. So when he walks down the way, and Jesus shows him somebody that needs a helping hand, he does that. So I made a decision. I'm going to set aside money. I'm not going to steal. Remember we read this in Ephesians 4 2 weeks ago. I know Easter kind of separated us out. We missed a week, but surely we didn't forget all we talked about 2 weeks ago. And then he says, let no unwholesome word for it come forth. Now, man, I can vomit some stuff. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, I use a lot of words. Whatever the allotment of words are, I'm at the max. And I'll use them constantly. And sometimes it's not good because I'm what's called the sultan of sarcasm. I mean, I can sling it, and I can cut you up and smile at the same time, and I walk out and you're like, I think, what just happened here, right? But I can't do that any longer. I have to kill that. I have to now take time to think, okay, what should I say here? What would Jesus want me to say here in this situation? You see, we're becoming something. This is good. Because as we become something, we become people who can change the world. We can change our family. Forget changing the world. I can just change my kids. I can change my family. I can change my friends. I can change the world if I become something. And that's what Christ is wanting us to do. So there's this putting off the old way and putting on the new. So we looked at that. Are we clear on all that? So now let's look at the next one. Because this one is good. This one is when you don't start off there, right? But as we begin to put those things off and we begin to put things on, and people go, man, you used to trash everybody, and you don't do that anymore. Man, we used to think if your mouth was moving, you were lying. But that doesn't seem to be true anymore. And you seem to genuinely care about me. Are you on drugs? What's going on? Right? I mean, that's a normal inclination that happens. And as we do that, people begin, this is where we behold. That's the fourth one. We behold Christ. I don't mean behold him like we see him. I mean people see him in us. This is where we're going. This is the whole point. You and me should look like Jesus. Not features, not the beard, the flowy hair, with the fan blowing on him, and the cool stuff. Not the chosen version of Jesus, right? I mean, I'm not saying there's anything about it. I'm into the show. I'm just saying, it's not about his outward appearance. It's that we should look like him, right? And this is what so Luke says it like Luke records Jesus saying this. Now, a student, when he is fully taught, will be like his master. That means if I hang around Jesus and I'm a learner, which is what a disciple is, we know that, right? Disciple, mathetos, it means learner. So we're learners. So as I'm learning, who am I going to be learning from and what will I do? I will look like Jesus. The more I learn of him, the more I look like him. That's what happens. And so this is true. The student, when he's fully taught, will look like his teacher. That's the goal. John says it like this, 1 John 2:6. If we claim to be his, we got to walk like he did. You can't claim to be like Jesus and walk like the world. That's not like a Bible-thumping preacher, but still it's true, right? I can't do that. And so I have to make a decision that if I claim to be in him and to belong to him, I should start looking like him. This is a powerful passage. John also says this. Everyone who believes in him purifies himself just as he is pure. No one who is born of God practices sin. We understand. I sin. I probably sinned today. Maybe, I don't know. No, I probably did. No, I'm pretty sure I just did right now. Right? I mean, we do those things, but I don't practice it. You understand the difference there? One is hey, I'm embracing this. That's who I am. And the other is, darn it, I did it again. Right? Difference. No one born of God practices sin. He cannot. It is an impossibility. Why? Because God's seed is in him. I've learned as I've gotten older, and I hang out, and I see some of my dad's friends. You look just like Jim Pardue. Well, no duh. He had more hair than I did, but I look a lot like him. My mannerisms are a lot like him. It's not a mystery why that is. His seed is in me. Right? Some people say, well, you got mannerisms like your mom. Interesting. My mom used to tell me that I had manners of my uncle that I never met at the time that she was telling me about that. Why? Because there's seed in me. When you came to Christ, there's a spiritual seed that was planted in you called the Holy Spirit. You know what he's doing? Making you look like Jesus. That's what's happening to you. And you should go with it. Right? Roll with that. Embrace that reality. Romans 8:28, not 8:28. But we are destined to be conformed to the image of his Son. I can't remember where that is. It's in Romans chapter 8, somewhere in there. 1 Corinthians 11, Paul says this. Hey, just imitate me as I imitate Christ. Right? And so that's what we're doing. These are all truths that you and I know. Let me read this one to you. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. This is a large print Bible. I still have to hold it way out here. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. Your attitude should be the same as that of Jesus Christ, who being in very nature God did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on the cross. What's he saying? We should be like him in that attitude. Humility is a crucial piece. I think I've shared this with you enough that you know that, but when Paul in Ephesians 4 is telling us what we put on just before that, he says, man, in light of this great calling that you have, in light of the fact that you've been brought into the kingdom of God, that you're a child of God, that you're beloved, you're at peace, and you'll never not be at peace with him. You're forgiven, and you will never not have to deal with that again. There will never be a time when you have to Ask for forgiveness. He already gave it to you freely. His mercies are new every morning. All of those things are true, and they're all right in there. That in all of that, I'm going to behold him. I'm going to be like him. This is what happens. And so I'm going to demonstrate that humility, and here's what he says. In light of this great calling, there are 4 attitudes. He said 5, rather. I really need you to do. I need you to be completely humble. Not sort of. Completely humble. You know what that means? Same thing Jesus says. Want to come after me? Deny yourself. Take up your cross and follow. It's not your life anymore. It belongs to him. He bought you. A lot of metaphors. He's your father, but he bought you, right? And so we're slaves to him. Well, what a great master. Right? And so this is what's going on here. And so he says, be completely humble. Be completely gentle. That is, hey, can you rein back that stuff? All that harshness, all that meanness and anger. Can you be completely humble? Can you cut all that off so that's not even a part of your life anymore? Could you be patient? That is to be unmoved by circumstances, because life's going to beat you up. And if you, every time a circumstance comes in, you're rocked. No. Stand there and be unmoved by that. And know that God causes all things to work together for good of those that love him, are called according to his purpose. And then could we not, can we forbear with one another? It's a high dollar Greek word, you know what it means? Put up with each other. Can we just put up with each other? I'm a lot to put up with, and I know that. But hey, this, you know what we do? We put up with each other. What does that mean? It means I'm unmoved by you. You can't make me mad. I mean, I will get mad, but it's not your fault. It's my fault. But you can't make me mad. And then he says, hey, can you maintain the spirit of unity? Because it's pretty powerful. And so those are the attitudes. Now, what does it look like to behold Jesus? What does it look like for us to be like him? And this is where I want to spend just a little bit of our time. Because it requires you and me dying to ourselves. It requires us taking our eyes off ourselves, up and out. Make sense? Eyes up and out. This is what we do. So when I walk into this room, it's not about, are they going to like? I spent half my time doing youth ministry trying to make kids love me. I'm going to be the coolest guy in the world. I know I didn't succeed, but, I tried. Right? You try to be, and it took me a minute before I realized, dummy, if you'll love them, that's the better option. But I spent all my time trying to be the coolest guy in the world. Everybody loved me. I walk in a room now, I want to serve you. Not always, I'm going to be honest here. I'm putting off that line. But for the most part, and it's hard for me. I'm an ADD kind of guy, and I'm looking around. The guy that adopted those 5 kids, he had been coming to church maybe 3 weeks. I'm in the foyer, and I'm talking to him, and he's a builder, and I'm like, kind of excited about it. I'm looking around, making sure I touch everybody, right? Make sure. And he goes, hey, he said, can you look at me for a minute? I'm like, yeah, bro. He said, I feel like that you're always looking around for a better conversation. I'm like, this guy just said this out loud to me in the foyer. And he was right. And it so transformed my life. Because I realized that's not who I want to be. He just put a mirror in my face and go, this is what you do. And he was right. I look around for a better conversation. I'm trying to make sure I touch everybody in the room before I leave. And now I'm like, you know what? I may not see you all tonight. I may just get one, because if they want to unload about some things going on, I'm going to be that guy. I can't be that dude. I'm learning that. It's hard for this old guy, because I don't want to be everybody. I want to touch everybody. So you see what this looks like? So we just put on humility. And I can no longer practice sin. I can't just go, well, it's just who I am. No, it's not. No, stop it. You're not that. I just tell it like it is. Well, stop it. Right? You don't have to. You have a lot of words and you don't have to use them. Sometimes it's better if you just shut up. Right? I mean, it's just true, right? And same thing with so many things about practicing sin. Our addictions. It will. I got a buddy. He's a believer, and I don't necessarily have a reason to doubt him, but I've never heard him string a sentence together without about 3 F words in it. And he doesn't even know he's saying it. And I'm like, hey, bro, what are you doing? Well, I didn't say that. Yes, you did. And I'm like, so if you claim to be in Christ, yet you're using these words, when you get out there, you don't look like Jesus. You don't. The goal is to look like Jesus. And we're not just going to go, that's okay, we all do it every once in a while. No. You know what the worst thing the church does is normalize everybody. I don't want to be a normalizer. I don't want to go, all right, you're okay. You're okay, Julian, you're good, man. I mean, everybody does it. That doesn't help him at all. It makes him feel good, but it doesn't transform him. And I did an injustice because I'm supposed to be light. And I didn't share light with him. I shared darkness with him. I stay in your darkness because you're going to have to sleep. Right? This is what we do, and we can't do it. So how did Jesus do this? Well, he's with his buddies. And normally, on the journey that you're going, you avoid this one place called Samaria, right? You're aware of this? Samaria is like, they're half-breeds, and the Jews didn't like them, the Gentiles, nobody liked them, and so you would travel and go all the way around, just so you didn't have to walk through that dirt, right? And I went to Belize one time, we were going to Guatemala, so we get there, and I drove there, and I didn't realize that Guatemala thinks they own Belize, and so when I got there, and they saw the Belizean tag, and they saw my American passport, they get a hose out, and they start blowing all the dust of Belize off the tires because they don't want that to get into their country. Now, that's the strangest thing I've ever experienced in my life at a border, but that's what happens. That's what they felt like about Samaria. We're not going there, man. Get all that junk on us. And here's what I love about Jesus. Jesus said, hey, we must go through Samaria today. See, he's willing to go anywhere. He makes his way to a little well. He sits down because he's tired. And there's a woman that's coming, and she's tired too for all the different reasons. Do you have a friend like that, dude? All the other women came in the morning. I know you know the story, but they all came in the morning. She got tired of the gossip, I'm sure, that took place. And so she just said, I'm going to go in the heat of the day. I'd rather go in the heat of the day and carry this water by myself than have to listen to these women shame me because I've been married 5 times. So she meets Jesus and says, can you give me some water? Talks to her. That's a big deal because men didn't talk to her. So he's breaking protocol of this earth because the protocol of the kingdom is better. And so we connect with people. So he begins the conversation. Even though I don't know you. We've had 5 husbands, and the one you're living with is one now. He doesn't condemn her. He just states truth, right? Look, I don't hate anybody out there. I love everybody, but I'm going to tell you the truth. You come at me and start talking about, I don't know, I sound like, tell me about a pronoun. I don't know. I'll call you, I don't know, I'll call you it. I don't know. But I look and I see it's pretty obvious what you are. I love it. Right? And so he did. He spoke life into her. And it transformed her. There's some people that you know right now, and they're living in shame. You could behold Jesus. You could change that life. Or you could stand over in the corner and go, they're just terrible. I'm not going to let my family get around them. My kids aren't going to hang out with them, right? We say things like that, don't we? There was 2 times when Nicodemus is mentioned in the scriptures, it says the one who came to Jesus at night. There's something about that strikes me. He came to Jesus at night because he was the professed teacher. He knew everything. So you don't go to the one who you're ridiculing, and the whole world's ridiculing, and asking questions because you're the answer guy. You got any friends like that who know everything? But he does. He comes at night because he wants to know. That's what's going on. He wants to know. He knows something's missing. He just doesn't know what it is. And so Jesus was factual with it. Again, truthful. That's that whole light. Man, aren't you a teacher of this law? You don't know. But he wasn't ridiculing him. He was just saying, well, how do you not know that? And then he cuts right to the chase. Hey, we can have all these theological discussions. Don't you think there's one thing missing? You know what it is? You need to be born again, son. That's what it is. You're living in that flesh, dark, dead life. You need life. And so he explained the gospel to him. Nicodemus received. He may have still been sucked. But when Jesus died on the cross and his body's on there, You see, in Joseph Arimathea said, let's go see Pilate and see if we can have his body so we can have a decent burial. Jesus transformed that man's life because of that. Jesus got in a boat, went to the other side of the lake for one reason. There was a man in bondage over there to not just one demon, but a legion. And the whole planet was afraid of him. Jesus wasn't. Do you realize we have nothing to fear? Do you know that? I've been in some strange places. I've seen some things. I've been in dangerous places. I've been in Port-au-Prince. I've been hijacked by the cops there. And I've been in India and assaulted by the high priest there. And I've been run off the road in Haiti. So I understand all of these things. But here's what I know and what I would tell my wife every time I leave. I am invincible until God says otherwise. I'm a servant. So we should not fear anybody that's like that. There's no reason to. We don't have to fear. And several years ago, we had this guy at work. He was a workplace guy. And he came to work that morning. I think he was off his meds. I'm not sure, but he had a gun. And he was waving it. And he said he was going to kill this guy. And everybody's panicking. Call the cops. I thought, I think it's going to hide the thing. And they're like, no. I said, I'm going to go talk to him. No, you can't go around. I'm going to go talk to him. So I went out there and I looked at him and I bent over and into his car. And I said, hey, man, I said, you got that gun. I don't think it's going to go well for you if you do that. I'm not sure what happened, but I think the best thing that can happen for you is that you just drive right out of here and say, I'll meet you in a minute with a paycheck and I'll give it to you. And if I can help you get where you need to go, I'm going to do it. I don't mean you any harm. And if you're going to shoot, that's okay. I guess I'm all right. He just put his gun in the glove box and drove out. And got his check. It could have gone bad. I don't know why I told you that, other than to tell you that we don't have to walk in fear. I'm beholding Jesus, right? That's my job. If it ends in death, it's my job. That's why he says, if anyone wishes to come after me, let him take up his cross, deny himself, and follow me. That's why those people in China, man, you arrest one pastor, you start martyring him, you persecute him, same thing in Africa, another guy steps up. Why? Because we're all Jesus and we're beholden to Christ, to the world. And if they want to kill us, that's what they do. That's what the world does. This is why you've got people like that, like Latimer and Ridley, great British men who were put on in the flames when they were killing Christians back then. One of them looked at the other and said, cheer up, Latimer, and play a man. The day we shall light a fire in England, that will never go out. Right? And you can hear these stories constantly. Now, I'm not asking you to go do something stupid and get killed. I'm just simply telling you, this demoniac needed freedom. And when Jesus commanded those spirits to leave, he wanted to get in the boat and go with me. He said, you got other work to do. Right? You were made for this day, son. You're free now. Now, go tell everybody what happened. Next time they saw him, he's in his clothes and his right mind, and it was crazy. We could tell stories like this all night, couldn't we? I'm just trying to drive home the point. You and me should be a lot more like Jesus. There's a woman, this story always haunts me. It's in John. They're trying to trap Jesus. And the way they did it was to take a woman, whether she was a professional prostitute or she just was sleeping around because she's just trying to find somebody to love her. I don't know. But she was caught in the very act of adultery. I don't know if we know this, but it takes two people to commit adultery. They didn't bring the guy. Don't know why. But they brought her. She's standing there in the temple court of the Gentiles where Jesus was preaching. Drags her in front of him and says, what are you going to do about her? She committed adultery. We caught her in the very act. We're a bunch of perverts. I mean, that's what I would say. He didn't, I'm sure. But he may have, because he started writing in the sand, and I don't know what he wrote. Whatever it was, he looks up, and they're all like, you know what? I think I might go back and do home. Maybe he just started writing sins down. Maybe he started writing names of women down. And they all knew, oh man, that was mine, right? I don't know what happened. But here's what happened. And they all lived. See, we got to be those kind of friends to people like that. There's a lot of people that find themselves in that situation. We can condemn or we cannot. But what he did was look at her and say, hey, does anybody left here that's going to condemn you? She said, no, sir. This is the creator of the universe. And he goes, well, neither do I. But he didn't say, you're fine, just go live your life. He said, but sin no more. Right? That's the hope that you and I offer to the world. You got time for one more? There's a man in the Bible, wee little man. Wee little man was he. Found him sitting on a tree. See what he see. Can we sit? No, devil. But you remember that? Listen, this is a guy that wanted to see, he didn't want to be seen. I mean, obviously, he's kind of strange. A little guy, he's sitting up there in the limb with all the kids. I'm assuming that's where the kids are too, right? Because where do you put kids? You put them on your shoulder, right? So he could have been a little guy that sat on somebody's shoulders, but he didn't. He climbed a tree, and there were other kids up there. And he just wanted to see Jesus. Is there really somebody like him? I'm telling you, the world wants to see Jesus. The church just doesn't look like him. And that's the problem. But you and me have that. We got a shot, really. I mean, we could, if we wanted to, look like Jesus. And so he didn't want to be seen. But Jesus knew he wanted to be heard. And so he said, hey, it's all right with you. I'd like to come hang out with you. Nobody wants to hang out with Zacchaeus. He's a jerk. He steals your money. He's a tax collector. So the government wanted their amount, and he would add on double that and triple if he could get away with it, and force it or close your house, and take it from you. And so nobody wanted to be his friend. Jesus said, "Do you mind if we hang out?" And he transformed the guy's life because he gave him what he knew was missing. But see, if we're so busy talking, we can't hear what's going on in people's hearts, and we don't know what's missing. This is the message that I have to say this. I have to say it to me as much as I do to you. I'm going to ask you a kind of personal question. Who do you know right now that needs to see Jesus? This isn't meant to be an emotional moment. I just want you to think about that. Right now, I got about 5 guys. We used to have what we called a hit list. Did you have a hit list? Were you in the group when I had a hit list? We'd have 5 people that we were saying, hey, they're unsaved, and we want to just love on them. We want to reach them, right? And so I had a list. I had my list. Everybody had their list. You were probably after that. But that's what went on. And I can start trying to be Jesus to them. I can just keep looking at my bus ticket to heaven and go, woo, look at me, right? I can go to church, get my fix, and then slide into the world and act like that on Sunday where my church folk can't see me. Come back to church, get my fix, and do it again. Or I can just go, you know what? No, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be the guy that actually does take the log out of my own eye so I can see the speck in my brothers. And I want to be the one that when I see my brother falling under the weight of sin, this is what Paul says in Galatians, that you who are spiritual restore such a one in spiritual gentleness, looking to yourself lest you do be tempted. I want to be the guy that comes along instead of pointing the guy in sin, that I get down there with him and I put my shoulder underneath that sin and I help him lift it off and help him get up so he can walk. This is Jesus. So we talk about behold. The whole thing is that. I was in B-Land. I found the off-ramp. I embraced it. I belonged to him. He gave me the deal of a lifetime, 33 things that changed my life. And then he says, and I'm going to show you how to become something. He put his spirit in me who was like the GPS leading me true north and is whispering in my ear, stop doing that, start doing that. But I get too busy doing other things and I don't pay attention. But when I do that thing, I become something. And at some point, people can sometimes confuse me for looking like Jesus. Right? This is what God's called you and me to be. By God's grace, we're going to do it. This is the great adventure. We get to go rescue people who are perishing by simply being Jesus to them. And so there's too much at stake. I love this message. And I want to be that so bad. And I get frustrated when I'm not. I hope you do too. We going to sing a song? Let's sing a song. Good. Probably a good one. I'll pick good ones. One of my favorites. Good. Hey, could you think about getting maybe a hit list together? I got so many now I can't even keep up with it. I'm just asking, do you know somebody who just needs to see Jesus and you think you could be that? I mean, it may take a little time for you to get to that place, but how about if we work toward it together? Just looking like Jesus, right? And commit ourselves, and we're going to encourage each other and stimulate one another to love and good deeds, right? Because that's what we're supposed to do. Let's sing the song and process what we just heard. And I'm going to